Okay, I started recording. I think we should be good to go.
Oh, we're recording already?
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Dads of Dagobah review The Mandalorian Season 3. Sean, what a great episode of The Mandalorian that was.
Listen, before we jump into all of the thoughts that we have on this,
No response to my joke? That was a great opening joke.
It wasn't a joke because that was reality. That was exactly what we watched today. We watched a prologue of Season 3 of The Mandalorian.
Was that just an extended trailer?
Yes, reveal? That's exactly what it was. But before we jump into the details, I want to know from you, what is the word of the week?
Oh, you want to know the word of the week? Word of the week today is furry. Because we all know Jawas are known for being very furry. Okay, can I be honest with you? I still don't know what a Jawa looks like underneath the robes. But today, when she said furry, the hands were super furry. And I was like, are they always furry? Have I just always missed it? Because, like, you could see the little hands coming out of the cloaks, and they, like, had a lot of hair. And I'm like, what am I missing here? So anyway.
If we would have had a prop bet on what would be the top 5 most frequent words used in this episode, I never would have guessed that furry would have been in the top 5. She said it like 4 times.
I know. Furry.
The only words that we used more, I think, were Mandalorian, maybe Darksaber. But it was, yeah, that was a funny scene there. But also, actually, sorry, a non-Star Wars point of business that I felt like I needed to take care of. In honor of the second anniversary of the tragic helicopter crash that took the life of Kobe Bryant and his daughter, I am wearing my Black Mamba t-shirt. And so...
that was a sad day.
Yes. And I still remember where I was when I saw on Twitter, and I thought it was a joke. It was not a joke. So I just wanted everyone to know that I am... have paid tribute through my apparel today to the great Kobe Bryant.
How do we transition that sad news to Dads of Dagobah? Oh, I know. Here's something. For those viewers of ours who want to see more of us during the week, especially more of Sean, in other news, you have started a Twitch stream of Red Dead Redemption 2, and they can catch it on your Twitch channel at Guru Gilmore, where
Twitch.tv
he people left and right.
Twitch.tv/Guru Gilmore. Listen, I never intended to ever start a Twitch channel. But someone that I know that co-hosts this YouTube channel with me, Joseph Naylor. Joseph Naylor said, I will buy you a copy of Red Dead Redemption 2 if you stream your gameplay so I can see your first playthrough.
Yeah.
And I said, okay.
So he's doing it every Monday and Thursday, right? Is that when it's happening?
That's the tentative plan. We'll see how long my marriage stays healthy with that type of streaming schedule. We may need to adjust accordingly. But yes, all great pieces of information that have nothing to do with Chapter 5, The Return of the Mandalorian, of the Book of Boba Fett. Let me just... I know we like to go through the whole episode, and I think there's plenty to discuss this week. But I need to ask you the question. 2 questions. Number 1, do you think this was the best episode of the series so far?
Yes.
I agree, 100%. Number 2, which is the more striking question. Is it, what's the right word here? Is it detrimental to the brand of Boba Fett that the best series or the best episode in his series dedicated to his character is the one that he does not appear in at all and is only about the Mandalorian?
No, I don't think so at all. This was just a really fan servicey episode. Um, I think this was. I'm curious as to why they chose to dedicate a whole episode to this, and I I'm like, are we still having a Mandalorian season 3? Because basically this was I. Well, here's something, Sean. We've talked about on this podcast how you are not sure what the future of the Mandalorian even is, right? Now that Grogu's gone, what's the point? And I think we've answered that question in this episode. Would you say that's a fair statement?
Oh yeah, I mean, we're being a little bit facetious, but there's no question in my mind. This was the first episode of season 3 of The Mandalorian. Like this sets up. This is basically, like you said, an extended trailer. It sets up everything that we anticipate we will see in season 3 now.
Well, I think all of the questions too, right? All of the Grogu is still with Luke. Moff Gideon is gone, well, being interrogated, but they still set it up as like, well, he should have died. You know, like obviously he's going to somehow escape or get out of Republic control or something, right? That's kind of the foreshadowing that I felt like. And then he's not allowed to be in the Order of the Mandalorians, or at least that very fanatical Order of the Mandalorians, according to Bo-Katan, right? So he got kicked out.
Listen, I have completely now shifted to the camp of I think it's based off the last line of the episode. I think we're getting Grogu in this series.
Oh yeah,
I think
100%.
He's gonna go get Grogu.
Yeah,
and come right back.
What did he say at the very end?
I gotta go pay a visit to a little friend.
Yeah.
I feel like there's no way that just happens off camera, off screen, and sorry, I was delivering my miniature Grogu Beskar armor to Luke and Grogu. You didn't get to see it on screen, but now I'm back on Tatooine to help you fight the Pikes. Like, we better see Grogu next week.
What does that mean? We see Luke?
That's been my biggest question. Not my biggest, but one of my questions has been, will we continue to see Luke Skywalker in some capacity? Or is it going to be like maybe just in one little short cameo of an episode, or a short cameo in an episode, we see Luke and for some reason Grogu can't stay in train or doesn't need to stay in train anymore, and he goes back with Mando.
Is Luke going to be part of the muscle that helps Boba Fett
I don't think
fight the Pikes? Is it going to be Luke versus oh my gosh, why am I drawing a blank on her name?
Kira,
yeah. Is it going to be Luke versus Kira? And bearded Han Solo comes out of nowhere? He's like, I'm having a rough time with my marriage with little baby Ben and Leia.
It'll be Luke, Ahsoka better show up.
I will say this. 100% Grogu is coming back. I saw today on TikTok, I purposely do not look at reviews or any type of spoilers after watching the episode and before talking to you. I've intentionally avoided it. But I did see that the X-Wing pilot is the same actor who was the stand-in for Luke during the scene. So they had a stand-in for, obviously Mark Hamill's not going to be going down the hallway, doing that. So they had a stand-in. That actor, he was the X-Wing pilot.
Oh, gotcha.
I don't know if that means anything about the future of Luke, but I definitely feel like we're getting Luke this season. Anyway, we have a lot more to unpack. Should we
you think we're getting Luke in the last 2 episodes of Boba Fett or in season 3 of Mandalorian?
Well, if we're getting Grogu, if we're seeing Grogu, then yes, we're seeing Luke.
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously that would make sense.
I don't think it's going to be a big scene. I don't think it's going to be a fight in the hallway sort of awesome scene. I think it's going to be kind of an Ahsoka sort of, let's chat a little bit, how is he doing sort of thing.
Sure. Yeah, that would make sense.
So now that we've talked about the end of the episode, let's talk about the beginning of the episode. We start, Sean, with the classic, honestly, a little strange to me, walking through a Costco refrigerated section here. Looked a little too non-Earth-like, but whatever. Little meat packing plant, look like with bulldog people. Have we seen that species before?
No, but it seems to be the same species that, one of the Godfather family, heads of the family from last week's episode. I
Yeah.
think they did tell us in that one scene in
Oh
episode 2
yeah.
or 3 where they told the Aqualish and the Trandoshans, there was one other alien species that they said had the the cliffs area or something.
Right.
I don't remember what the name is though,
That was
but
the
I
same
assume that's
species.
them.
Yeah. And he's there to collect his bounty. I was honestly surprised that he had gotten back into bounty hunting so quickly, but we later see why he got into it, right? It was to get information, not money, not credits. The scene was interesting, fun. Used the dark saber. I was shocked, honestly, when I saw the dark saber.
Well, I was also surprised, and I guess, mostly surprised at how brutal that scene was.
Oh yeah,
He
yeah,
was
yeah,
chopping people in half with that thing.
yeah. Grogu did not soften him. It seems like.
Yeah, where I mean, it's just this interesting. I don't even know what the right word is. Dichotomy, I guess, between now Mandalorian, Mando, Din, Djarin, and Boba Fett, because for 40 years, Boba Fett held this mystique of he's this mysterious, like one of the best bounty hunters in the galaxy, like just this intimidating figure. And this series has somewhat, to me, dismantled that. Like, all right, he's actually vulnerable and can't really put up a fight, it seems like, for some reason. But we saw in Mandalorian season 2 him totally wreck people and just ruthless, brutal, cutthroat. And then we've kind of gotten a completely different character in these first 4 episodes because he wasn't in this 5th episode. And yet Mando to me is like almost like the version of Boba Fett that I think everybody had in their mind of that's what we expected Boba Fett to be like.
Right.
And so it's kind of crazy to me that I'm okay with it. I'm not like upset of what they're doing with Boba Fett, but it's just interesting to me that, to me, Mando, Din Djarin has taken that spot of like coolest Mandalorian, coolest bounty hunter. Like he's way cooler than Boba Fett in my
Hmm.
mind.
That's interesting. I think it was intentional how gruesome that first scene was. Um, and I'm still curious as to why they would show it that way. Maybe is it the dichotomy between what Din Djarin's become versus what Boba Fett's become? Is it to show how he's behaving now that he doesn't have Grogu in his little egg pod thing? I don't know what they're showing us there, but it's very interesting.
Well, I mean,
Slice the guy in half.
completely brutal. Yes, killed obviously all. I mean, it's one that we see people, Star Wars people die and get killed all the time, but just the manner of slicing those people in half, cutting off heads, like things like that. And interestingly enough, we see he like burns himself because he doesn't know how to wield a lightsaber or the dark saber. Like he's not used to that type of weapon, and he accidentally grazes himself and like burns his leg.
Yeah, that was interesting watching that fight scene. How when I first watched it, I was like, why is he dragging it around the ground? Like, pick it up. But then we have that scene later where he's fighting against it, and he's not supposed to be, right? It gets heavier.
Which I didn't fully, we'll get to that part, but I didn't fully understand. I kind of want to discuss that more once we get to that spot. But I think a fantastic opening scene. I'm glad that we got right into, well, I mean, at that point, I didn't know that we weren't going to see Boba Fett at all. And so I thought, oh, this is interesting. We're starting right off the bat with Mando. Like, here we go.
Uh-huh.
Not realizing that this entire episode is just going to be Mando.
So we continue. We get to the Halo ring, and we see.
I said that too. As soon as we saw that ring, I'm like, this looks like a Halo ring.
Yeah.
Like, where's Master Chief?
It looks cool.
Yeah.
I like those little kind of cool little areas. Not a lot. I mean, he goes and he pays, or he gets the information he needs, which was basically how to get to the underworld. Yeah. What?
So was the meat packing plant on the Halo ring, and so he did the bounty there and then
I
just
think
turned
so.
it in?
I think so. Because he
That's
doesn't
what
have a ship, right?
Yeah, that's what I assumed. And he was limping and everything, like he wasn't. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're like, "Oh, you did that fast?" Like, "Oh, it was just down the block, people." Um,
Didn't you feel like when he got in that elevator and that alien lady was in there, that was going to be significant, and then it just wasn't? It was like,
yeah.
oh, okay, all right.
He's just like looking at him like, "Oh, what's that in the back?" So then he follows the secret path to the armorer, right?
Yes.
This to me is the crux of season 3 of The Mandalorian.
Oh, for sure.
Talking about, I mean, what didn't we learn? We saw the destruction of Mandalore by the Empire. I thought it was interesting that they used probe droids and the K2 droids,
Yeah.
which I thought was interesting because I wonder if it shows that regular stormtroopers weren't able to beat the Mandalorian, so they had to use more precise droids, like the K2 droids and the probe droids. That's kind of what I got from it. I'm like, why are there no stormtroopers here?
Well, to me, it seemed like the first wave was just the bombing runs,
Yeah.
and they just decimated the entire planet. And then they sent in I think, just kind of teams to sweep through and kill any stragglers. And the probe droids were just probably scanning for any life forms that had survived. But I mean, our first live action look at Mandalore, which I think, like you said, completely sets up. This is what season 3 has to be about then for Mandalorian.
100%. I mean, he has to go wash himself in the pool.
He's got to atone.
Right?
He has to atone and go cleanse himself in the waters underneath the mines of Mandalore. And I think also part of that arc will also be just reclaiming Mandalore, and I don't know.
Yeah, he didn't lose the Darksaber to a guy who, to me, was vastly stronger. But as soon as he started wielding the Darksaber, he couldn't wield it either. Is that what the sense you got too?
Yeah. So before he gets challenged by Paz Vizsla, he's training with. Well, first of all, we need to talk about they smelt down the spear that he got from Ahsoka.
From Ahsoka, yep.
And they're like, the armor's like, what do you want me to do with this? And he's like, make armor for a foundling. And she's like, okay, this is the way. I love that this is the way came back into it. I'm like, yes, like
this is the way.
Everything about the episode was just like familiar and just like, this is, to me, it just was like this overwhelming signal of, I'm over the Book of Boba Fett. I'm just ready for Mandalorian. Like, I'm not interested. I'm not interested in Boba Fett's story. That's so what I.
More. We have the Hutts. We have Black Chrysanthemum. We have the Sanctuary. We have the arcs. We have. There's so much more. We have 2 more episodes. They're not doing another episode like this.
I don't think that the Boba Fett storyline is bad. It's just this episode clearly demonstrated to me I'm not as interested.
Okay.
Like, this was
there's a lot of things that happen.
I was hooked and engrossed in this whole story for this episode, and I have not been hooked like that at all through the Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Anyway, but so they make something for Grogu. I don't know if it's going to be little Beskar armor. It looked a little bit too small in that little package.
Helmet?
Like,
maybe it's a helmet.
Maybe a helmet
with little ear holes for his ears.
Corey thinks it's just like a chain necklace. Just like
a little. It kind of looked like chainmail, right? Is that kind of the sense you got?
Yeah. Anyway, so he's making. He specifically told the armor, make some armor for Grogu. So he considers Grogu a foundling for the Mandalorians.
Yeah.
Even though he's training with the Jedi. And I did like how the armor was like, well, the Jedi are all about letting go of your attachments. And Mando was like, well, that's the opposite of our creed. Like, ours is like loyalty. And I'm like, that's what the Jedi should be like.
I know.
Anyway, so then he's training with her, and this is where we learn that it's like getting heavier for him with each swing. And I just am so that intrigued me, and I'm just curious, what does it mean that he's fighting against it? Is it a mental thing? Is it the saber wants to move certain directions and he's trying to steer it? Like, is it physical, mental, both? What is going on?
I don't have an answer for you. I was confused too. Maybe we're not supposed to take it so literal. Maybe it's just he is using it in ways that doesn't want to be used. How much of this is we learned that it was made by a Jedi though, right? A Jedi made it.
Tar Vizsla, who was a
Yeah.
Mandalorian and a Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe the Force is coming into play here, and without the Force, you can't really wield it.
That's what I'm starting to think.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting. It adds a lot more context. I mean, we're going to have to figure out what happened on that ship, though. I mean, did Bo-Katan just say, "I'll see you around, kid"? Like,
yeah,
I'll come get it back. Like, we all know she desperately wants it, and it sounds like the armorer is like, "Don't let her have it. She cuckoo cray cray,"
Yeah, I'm surprised. I guess we need to, in season 3 of Mandalorian, I would assume they're going to explain why didn't Bo-Katan just challenge him right then after Luke left? Like, okay, I challenge you right now for the Darksaber.
Yeah.
Or maybe she didn't think she could win.
It's less about the saber. It's more about the story of how it's gotten, right?
Yeah. Well, so then he gets challenged in this duel with Paz Vizsla, who obviously is a descendant of
feels he's the rightful owner.
Pre-Vizsla. And isn't that guy played by Jon Favreau?
Is he?
I thought so. At least voiced by him.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that. Yeah, I don't know.
In season 1 of Mandalorian, he definitely was voiced by Jon Favreau.
That's cool.
But anyway, and it sounded like Jon again, but so they start this fight, and I felt like, Joseph, I don't know if you caught this, I felt like Paz Vizsla beat him when he picked up the Darksaber.
Yeah, a kind of Elder Wand theory, right? Oh, I've defeated. I now have it. I'm in possession. I bested you, right?
Yeah, I bested you. You've dropped the saber. You're on all fours, on your hands and knees, like doubled over, and I pick up the saber. At that point, it's like I'd be like, I win. It's mine now. But they kept fighting. It was strange, but I mean, whatever.
I think they had the fight to the death, is what it seems like, because Din was about to kill the guy, right? And then she stopped the fight.
I did think that was interesting because when it started, I was watching with my wife Corey, and she immediately said, "Is this a fight to the death?" And my gut reaction, I blurted out, "No. Like, they can't fight to the death. There's only 3 of them. Why would they be like, let's have a duel to the death when we just are trying to reform what did she call it? Their coven or their coven. They're trying to reform their coven. There's only 3 of them, and we're about to have 2 of our members fight to the death."
And then she challenges the winner, so it's down to 1. Okay, I got next.
I was just waiting for you guys to soften each other up, and I would also like the Darksaber. Yeah.
It was an interesting fight. I'll say this. I know we're not really on this topic, but I liked his little arm shield. That was a cool thing. And what was up with that? Was that a vibro knife or something?
Yeah, I think it was like a vibro blade, kind of like in Knights of the Old Republic.
Oh, also Knights of the Old Republic. I thought kind of more Dune too.
Oh. Yeah, but it felt like he like jabbed him with it, and it just made all his Beskar start. Like he's in an earthquake. But I also wondered. I asked Corey as well as we were watching. I was like, "Is it customary or Mandalore tradition to, as soon as a duel is over, to check to make sure if anyone's taken off their helmet?"
That was so weird.
It was like, as soon as they're done, he's got the knife to his throat. "It's over. You win." Paz Vizsla, have you ever taken off your helmet? No. This is the way. This is the way. Has anyone ever taken it off for you? No. All right, this is the way. I'm like, should I keep the knife to his throat? If he says yes, should I just slit the throat? Like,
I thought the same thing. I'm like, oh, we're doing this right now?
And then the same thing with Din. Have you, Din Djarin, have you ever taken off your helmet? Silent.
Pause.
At that point, Din should have been like, no. Like, ask it like a question.
How many times has he taken off his helmet? First time.
In season one, IG-11 took it off.
To heal his face.
Yes. Season
2, we had to have his face scanned because any old face would work, right?
Yes.
And then the last episode finale. Saying goodbye to Grogu, right?
So 3 times?
Yep.
I guess technically in like episode 3 of, was it episode 3 or episode 4 of season 1 where he's on the forest planet where the ATST shows up. He like takes it off in his hut and it's an open window, but I don't think anyone's looking at him. But
yeah, I think we joked like, can anyone at that time just turn around to be like, oh?
Yeah. But I mean, we established way back then that you have to like eat and drink and you have to take off the helmet. Just anyway. But yeah, so he tells the truth, and by creed, he's obligated to tell the truth. So he says yes, and they banish him on the spot. Then you are excommunicated from the Mandalorians.
You gotta go wash yourself in the. He's like, well, aren't the mines destroyed? She's like, oh well.
I mean, obviously he considers being a Mandalorian his religion. So I mean, there's obviously a ton of religious undertones and overtones here of you've broken your creed or covenant, and now you've got to go atone by baptizing yourself in the waters of Mandalore.
Yep.
For your atonement here. So, anyway, I found the whole thing offensive and sacrilegious. Oh, psych.
So then we get onto the shuttle, the direct flight to Tatooine. A fun little scene where he has to give up his weapons, reminiscent of the old spaghetti western. Oh no, sorry, the Lord of the Rings. The king requires that I take your weapons, and they disarm. It's like constantly disarming themselves. Kind of remind me of that scene.
But I was, for whatever reason, when he pulled out the Darksaber last, I thought you're gonna lose it. I'm like, don't put that in there. Like, don't put that in there. You're going to get to Tatooine, and it's going to be gone. Someone will have stolen it.
That's what I felt like, too. And Abby said the same thing. She's like, oh, it's gone. And so I wondered why they put that scene in. Was it just for fun, or was it just... Anyway.
I think maybe it was to show, like, just... I think a part of it was for fun. Like, oh, look how many weapons he has. But I think part of it, too, was... He kind of hesitated with the Darksaber. I think it was just to show that he was obviously very uncomfortable. The initial statement to that droid was, weapons are part of my religion.
Yeah, you can't. I'm not going to give up my religion.
Listen, I'm not putting my weapons in here, and I'm not getting a vaccine. I have a religious exemption. You cannot force this on me.
Oh, so we get to Tatooine.
Well, he's on the thing, and I guess it's not a huge deal. He sees the Rodian, whatever, but on Twitter, viral is the little.
It's like shaped like his head too, right?
It's shaped exactly like Grogu's head. It's like, oh, he's missing Grogu.
I wonder if he still has that. Doesn't he still have the little ball too, from the ship that he found in the wreckage?
Yeah.
Anyway.
So he gets to Tatooine. He gets off the ship. I wanted, as he was descending from the ramp from the ship, I wanted a bunch of pikes to be getting off with him.
That's what I thought that would be the same. Yeah.
I wanted him to see like, oh, what are all these pikes doing here?
Something's afoot. Because it seems like he didn't go. It seems like he went to Tatooine because of Mechanic Lady.
Right.
Invited him there because she had a ship for him, and he thought it was a Razor Crest. And she was like, I didn't say Razor Crest.
Okay, which I guess I'm late to the party because I thought Razor Crest was the name, like Millennium Falcon. I thought it was the name of his ship, not the model.
I think they're changing all sorts of names for the starships right now. Because I think it's now, same thing with Slave One. It's now a fire spray, Boba Fett's fire spray. I think it's going to be Din Djarin's Razor Crest, all that stuff. Can I just say, though, that opening scene with the Womp Rat and BD Droid, I was smiling from ear to ear. That was probably my favorite scene of any Star Wars since... that was such a fun scene, and the droids are trembling. She's like, "Get out there and do something." They're like, She's like, oh, "Come on, R5." And R5's like, "No." She's like, "Help me lift the thing so I can shoot at it." And then she's standing there like, "Oh, it must have gone." And she falls over Jurassic Park style and is getting dragged away, And I love that whole thing. She makes the show. I thought we were just going to get a little cameo, that little scene where she was walking, but we get a whole bunch of her this time, and I love it.
She, that's obviously Amy Sedaris. She does a good job. For some reason, her humor doesn't take me out of the world or out of the show. Like, it seems, even though it's like a little bit on the nose and over the top, her like really kitschy type of humor, for some reason it just kind of works within the character.
She wants to start a petting zoo of Baby Yodas.
Yes.
Yeah, I really like that. They really could have turned a petting zoo or something.
Well, and I thought that I was so surprised when I saw the BD droid, and at first I just thought it was BD1. I'm like, is this BD1?
I saw it on Twitter today. Before I saw the episode, I saw someone post, "He's back," and I was like, Cal Kestis is coming back? Because there was only a picture of the droid. Yeah. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. But are we to assume it's BD1? I mean, she called it BD.
I think it's not BD1. I think it's probably a different droid.
So it's a BD style droid then?
Yes.
Okay.
And so maybe it's BD 10,596. But, obviously my background is Cal with BD because not only, this is a great week for BD droids because we get our first live action BD droid in the Book of Boba Fett Chapter 5. Looked great. Frankly, way better than Dio from Episode 9.
Yeah. What was the BD droid look practical or was he computer, do you think?
I think he was computer, especially when he came out limping after the Womp Rat attack. He definitely looked CGI.
Okay.
But I don't know. Maybe there was a shot or two where he was practical. And then also this week we got official confirmation. We kind of already knew this unofficially, but official confirmation, the announcement that the sequel to Jedi Fallen Order has been in development and will be released. And rumors are coming out that we'll see footage of that in May during a Star Wars Celebration. So,
and it's not confirmed though that it's a continuation of the Cal Kestis story because they specifically said it was part of the Jedi series, right? Or
yes,
Jedi Fallen Order series or something.
So I think it's just they're just calling it the Jedi franchise. So it was Jedi Fallen Order, and the next game will be Jedi whatever the other subtitle.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, great to see the BD droid. The Womp Rat was fun. Corey, while that whole scene was going down, Corey thought she's faking. Like, is she faking to try to mess with the droids? But then, Mando comes in and shoots the Womp Rat. And then we get the next little good chunk of this story, which is he came because he thought he was getting a Razor Crest, and she has under that tarp, Joseph, a different model of starship that I was absolutely not expecting to see. I didn't think we'd ever see this baby again.
N1 Starfighter.
And we got the N1 Starfighter, a.k.a. the Naboo Starfighter, a.k.a. one of my favorite parts of Episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
Oh, yeah, good parts. So when I said last week that I saw spoilers that the Mandalorian would be in the show, and I said there's one other part that I didn't want to say, this was the other part, that he would be flying around on an N1 Starfighter. And to me, I was like, that seems a bit ridiculous. Like, why would Din Djarin be flying around on an N1 Starfighter? Though sounds cool, I don't believe it. But then, we had the leitmotif last week, and I'm like, oh, half of the rumor is true. And then this week, I'm like, Oh, okay. I guess it was 100% true.
Yeah, but I mean, he obviously at first is super skeptical. He wants his money back, but
I
he's
love
a
how she's like, "Oh, you want your money back? No problem. Hey, droids, go get him his money. Go get him his money." Then she's like, "While we're waiting, might as well tell." Then did the droids come and bring her something? And she's like, just shoos them away. Like, would they actually have brought the money to her? And she's like, "Get it. We're doing something here now."
yeah. Well, I mean, one there was a lot of technical talk, mechanic talk,
Yeah, just
mechanic
garble.
speak happening about the parts and different stuff, and I know nothing about cars, and so people when they started talking about car parts, I'm like, I don't
The
know what you're
vapor
talking about,
barrier.
and so this even was even more over my head because already I'm not a mechanically minded. Um, but that so I chalk all this up to they put the ship back together
And they talked to some Jawas.
and they learned that Jawas are furry and that Amy Sedaris has dated a Jawa and that the Jawa that is in their presence right there would like to date her, but she's working on herself right
I'm
now.
working on myself.
Also, I think this is maybe the first confirmed instance of a humanoid speaking Jawa
Yeah, that
back
was
to
fun.
the Jawas.
That was fun.
Yeah.
I still let the whole I'm working on mine. Was that the same? The thing that the Jawas brought was that the same thing Han and Luke used in the trash compactor? It looked like it.
It looked very similar, didn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're getting. I felt like there was supposed to be this kind of shroud of mystery of where are the Jawas getting all these parts, and so I was like, oh, is this going to be like some thing that the Jawas are getting it from, whatever, and it ended up being that they're just stealing it off of Pike equipment, which is fine.
Maybe it'll play in later. I don't know.
Yeah, so maybe if we see some sort of spice runner or something that blows up because it doesn't have a accelerator, thrust vector, capacitor.
Yeah, whatever that was called. Um, he gets into the N1 Starfighter, doesn't have a droid with him because she said, "It seems like you don't care about the droids."
I mean, she obviously made a Grogu seat.
Yeah. Little
That
Grogu's gonna be sitting back there in that little hatch, huh?
Yeah, that's obviously there's no way anyone can convince me that there's any other design purpose for that other than to perfectly seat a Grogu in it.
Or Frog Lady.
I think it's a little too small for Frog Lady. Maybe a batch of her eggs.
Oh, there we go. But
But
we have the coolest scene of the episode, in my opinion. The guy who hates racing, hates the pod racing scene from episode 1, hates car chases in Star Wars. We have an awesome scene where he's flying around the dunes of Tatooine in the Boonta Eve Classic.
and it's Beggar's Canyon, and I never put those together that the Boonta Eve Classic went through Beggar's Canyon.
I didn't catch that either. I thought it was just who would have thought that was the same canyon?
Especially because my understanding of episode 1 is that Anakin and Shmi Skywalker and Watto, they are all in Mos Espa.
Uh-huh.
They're not in Mos Eisley. And so they obviously go do the pod race, and I just assumed that was near Mos Espa. But to me now it seems like more. I guess it makes sense because Jabba was at the pod race in episode 1, so it's actually closer to Mos Eisley.
We need map. We need a map.
And Luke is bullseyeing Womp Rats in Beggar's Canyon in his T-16 back home.
Yep.
So, I mean, I thought it was just, as soon as he started flying through, I'm like, this looks like when he's all the rocks and the arches and the columns and stuff. I'm like, this looks exactly like the pod racing course. And then when
Isn't it the same place? Sorry, same place Anakin rides his speeder bike through in episode 2 as well, right? On the way to the Tusken camp. Isn't that the same?
Oh, yeah, it does look similar. I agree, yeah.
Sunset? Anyway.
Yes. And then when he starts going through the actual canyon and he passes, I'm like, this looks very familiar, obviously. I'm like, this has to be it, right? But maybe there's lots of canyons like this. And they said Beggar's Canyon, so it threw me off. Because I thought, oh, they didn't do the pod race through Beggar's Canyon. Anyway, Then when they take that turn and that service ramp is up there and there's still debris from the fence that's broken. And I was like, that's where Anakin broke the fence. I'm like, man, it's been 30 years and 40 years and they
haven't fixed the fence.
Haven't fixed that fence. But anyway, honestly, this actually goes back to when she first was going to take the tarp off of the N1 Starfighter. I thought it was a pod racer. It looked like it was going to be a pod racer.
And it kind of it had a mix of both pod racing sounds and the N1 sounds to me. So obviously they're using pod racing parts in there, right?
Yeah. So yeah, he flies through Beggar's Canyon, then he goes straight up into the atmosphere. He's learning the controls. He felt like it was a little bumpy at first, but she's like, it's not a gunship, it's a starfighter. You got to fly it like one. So he speeds up and it's much smoother and everything. That's when he goes through Beggar's Canyon. But then he goes up into space and sees that commercial cruiser. And he flies a little too close, Joseph. He waves at his Rhodian buddy.
Yep.
And then we get a scene that while it was a little bit fun and kind of funny, was very confusing to me.
Yeah, it was.
That we get these two New Republic X-Wing pilots coming up beside him. And again, I think we asked this question in Mandalorian when this happened. I'm like, are they just police? Are they just like cops now? They're just traffic cops.
Yeah.
Like, what's their role? Does the New Republic have so many X-Wings at this point and so many X-Wing pilots that they just patrol?
Do they have just nothing better to do than write speeding tickets?
They're just traffic cops. I didn't get it.
I think it was less about that and just more about how fast the ship can go and how he's still kind of hiding from his past, right? Like, got the wrong guy. You know? He didn't power up a hyperdrive. Those were his sublights.
Well, my question is, they have time there to try to pull him over for some, for speeding, and then he has expired tags or doesn't have vehicle registration.
Control over it.
And how are they going to take remote control over it? I thought the same thing. I'm like, you're spending all this time on this guy? And I'm like, and the Pikes are running a criminal empire.
The Spice Runners.
Right there on the planet that you're patrolling. I'm like, my biggest question became, does the New Republic have a presence out here? Because the stereotype of the Outer Rim is that it's called the Outer Rim because the centralized government doesn't really have a presence or police out that far. Republic's
reach, right?
Yeah. And so I'm like, the New Republic has two random X-Wing, police officers out here stopping people for speeding by commercial cruisers, but you have zero presence on the actual planet.
I don't know either.
So anyway, I mean, not a huge deal, but it did make me scratch my head. Like, where is the New Republic in all this? With, are they upset that Boba Fett has proclaimed himself the daimyo of Tatooine? Are they upset?
We were going to get a show. We were going to get a show all about it, but that show's been canceled. So
hey, they just need to have that. I only know him as Appa. That's not his real name. I don't know what the actor's name is, but
from the convenience store show, from Convenience.
Yeah, he should just be the star of Rangers of the New Republic.
There you go. He goes back, and then we meet Fennec Shan. Right, end of the episode. She's like, "Here's some money. We need your help." He's like, "It's on the house," which I thought was interesting.
Why is it on the house?
Because he's a changed man, Sean. He's changed. He cuts people in half, but he's a changed man.
He kills puppies, basically.
Yeah, little bulldog people.
He cuts dog people in half. And now is getting a legitimate work. Like, we just need some muscle, like here. And for Boba Fett, it's on the house. Yeah. I guess Boba Fett did kind of save his bacon back in season 2.
It's true. But so the debt was paid, right?
Yeah. Anyway, so he says, I'll do it for free, no problem. But first I got to pay a visit to my little friend. And which, if that's not Grogu, we will riot.
It is Grogu, okay?
We will burn down the volume. We will attack the studio in Burbank in full force. Just kidding. I'm not trying to incite violence.
Yeah, you got to be careful with that, Sean. We have a little game we like to play at the end of our episodes about over-unders, right? Very scientifically happening. Over-under of seeing Baby Yoda Grogu, I think, is near 100%, right?
By the way, I am very confident in my over-under prediction going back to my streaming career. My over-under prediction of how many of my main character friends from Red Dead will be literally dead by the end of the story.
How many did you say? You said like 7 out of 10?
Yes.
Going to be dead?
All of them will die.
You'll see. John lives, though.
Yeah. Okay, so what's my Star Wars over-under question?
Well, we've got two of them. We got Luke Skywalker and Grogu. Grogu, we'll put it at 80%.
Over.
Yeah. Luke Skywalker will put it 50.
I'll say over.
Yeah, I think we're seeing him. Any other people you think we may see now? Cara Dune or
Dengar. Dengar over under at 30%.
Under. Bosk 40% under.
You think the only muscle that Fennec Shand and Boba Fett are gonna recruit is just Mando? You don't think they're getting more muscle than just Mando?
Well, they have Black Chrysanthemum. They have the biker gang. They have...
Which, by the way, have you heard people starting to call the biker gang the Moss Vespas? Which is hilarious.
Oh, boy.
They could have had General Clevis, and they unceremoniously cut off his head.
Yeah, for no reason. Come on. Why'd they do that? Put that guy at the front of the line.
Just another added to the laundry list of decisions that Boba Fett has made that are questionable at best.
And they have the two Trandoshan guards, right? So
the Gamorrean guards.
Gamorrean guards. Sorry, not Trandoshan. One of them's missing an arm. And I forgot that Trandoshans regrow their limbs anyway, so it's not even that big of a deal when he ripped off an arm.
Oh, they do? Okay. That's new. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm curious. Next week, I think there's a chance. Let me ask you this. We both think that we'll see Grogu next week. Is he bringing Grogu with him back to Tatooine? Yes. Okay. No. You think no? Okay.
I had to think about it.
Okay. Absolutely not.
No way. No, I think that's a season 3 of The Mandalorian sort of thing. I think it's just a little setup. I can't imagine in the Book of Boba Fett they're going to bring Grogu into fighting here. I think he still needs some time with Luke, and it's just going to be kind of
I think Disney...
Maybe they're going to wrap up the Grogu Mandalorian storyline and just say, I don't know, say his goodbyes and focus solely on Mandalore for season 3, so we can be like, okay, well, the Grogu storyline's kind of wrapped up, I don't know.
Which I was concerned about because I felt like that was such the draw for the first 2 seasons, but this episode was good evidence that there was no Grogu in this episode. Now there was references to him.
Yeah.
But there was no Grogu in this episode, and I enjoyed it.
There's the shape of his head. That was enough.
Well, I think Disney told Jon Favreau, you have to put Grogu in the show, at least a cameo, and he needs a new outfit so that we can do a new toy line. The merchandise, they're not going to wait until next December when season 3 comes out to reveal Grogu's new look. They're going to miss out on 11 months of toy sales.
Are we going to go to Luke's temple? The Jedi temple Luke has? Are we going to see a young Ben Solo?
Ben Solo would be...
Are these possibilities?
Ben Solo is born at this point, right? Because he's born like very soon after the Battle of Endor.
Yeah.
So he's probably like 4 or 5 at this
Are we
point.
going to get a young Ben Solo in this show? Because if we're going to Luke, we're going to see. I mean, if we're going to go to Grogu, we're going to see Luke, and if we see Luke, it's probably going to be at his temple. And if it's at his temple, Ben Solo's got to be there.
The thing about all these hypotheticals
Are
is,
we going to see Ben Solo?
I understand what the question is. I think no. And I would say no because the thing with all these hypotheticals is there's a fine line between fan service and the gravitational pull.
No, we talked about that last year, though. We talked about how Luke would absolutely suck the energy out of this Mandalorian, and we were so wrong. We were so wrong.
Well, we weren't wrong. It did. It wouldn't suck the energy out. It would. He's a black hole of attention, and everybody for. Do you remember any other detail from that episode of The Mandalorian season 2 finale? I have to really think about it. All I think about is Luke Skywalker came and wrecked those droids.
Goosh. You're right. But
So no one. No,
if he's just running in the background.
That was the same episode that, Mando does the Darksaber duel with Moff Gideon and stuff. I'm like, I don't even think about that. I don't even remember that. It's not even a memory of mine that they had that duel. It's not a cool moment because all I think about is that Luke scene.
Yeah.
And so that's what I feel like I'm more talking about is you forget everything else fades to black and you are so focused on. I guess, Grogu can pull his own weight. He can go toe to toe for the attention. But if we have a scene all of a sudden where it's,
listen,
I mean, poor Boba Fett. If we go to the temple next week and it's Mando and Luke and Ben Solo and Grogu, I'm like,
people's heads will explode.
Boba Fett is the 6th most popular character in the show named after him.
Can I talk now? Can I talk?
And furthermore,
I don't think. Here's the thing: if let's say we are going to get Ben Solo, it's not going to be Adam Driver. It's going to be a little stand-in kid, right?
Obviously, yeah.
And he's not going to have a speaking line. It may just be like, oh, look at Grogu may be playing with a group of kids or doing a little Force things, and there's Grogu and Ben, and I think it's going to be something like that. If it does happen, which confirmed it is, because I've seen the rumors and the leaks. I think it's going to be something like that, where it's just going to be like, and we'll be like, people who are smart will be like, oh, that's Ben, that's Kylo, but everyone else will be like, oh, okay, that's what I think.
Maybe Grogu force chokes Ben Solo, and we learn that Grogu is a little bully. And it starts Ben Solo off on his path of being a loner. Like, everyone's making fun of Ben because this little tiny creature was able to force choke him.
A 50-year-old choked him out.
It's all very possible.
In other news, let's finish off talking about Star Wars video games. We've got the Fallen Order sequel. We have another first-person shooter. No one knows much about it. And then we have a strategy game. So that's exciting.
Is the strategy game going to be like on consoles?
I would assume it's like a PC strategy, like Age of Empires, Civilization sort of game, right?
I just all chalk that up to like the mobile gaming world now. Like,
everything is going mobile, and it's so stupid. Oh, and we have the gameplay trailer for Skywalker Saga Lego game.
I can't even really describe how excited I am for this game.
Yes.
First of all, the gameplay trailer made it look not only like great because we get the whole Skywalker saga. That's awesome. But it looks like they've totally upgraded the gameplay and that there's some new, fresh kind of gameplay mechanics from the regular. I've played a lot of Lego games over the years. Lego Star Wars, Lego Harry Potter, Lego DC, Marvel, whatever. And they do kind of get repetitive, like all these are the same. Just the same thing every single time.
Same puzzles to solve, all that stuff.
And this seemed like, I was pleasantly surprised. I'm like, oh, looks like there's some cool like little mini games, some different types of things going on. So we'll get some space combat and flying mechanics. I'm like, all right, here we go.
That's right.
So you can catch me streaming Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga on twitch.tv/Guru Gilmore Mondays and
Finish your
Thursday nights.
100% completion of Red Dead Redemption 2.
Mondays and Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Central.
From 8 to 9:30 or whenever he gets tired.
I said 8 to 10, and then I realized at about 9:20, I'm like, I don't want to be doing this another 40 minutes. And all my viewers are gone.
I know, they all left. You got up to 10, though. Or 9, whatever the number was.
So true. Well, everybody, we would love to hear your thoughts on Chapter 5, The Return of the Mandalorian from the Book of Boba Fett. Did you miss Boba this week, or were you totally fine without his presence?
Back to the Sarlacc pit for you, Boba.
Thank you all for watching this week. Absolutely leave a comment down below on what you thought of the episode. What are you excited for Mandalorian Season 3? What are you excited for the next 2 and final 2 episodes of the Book of Boba Fett?
Are we going to see young Ben Solo? Please tell us.
Will we see young Ben Solo? How many more character cameos can we shove into this show in the next 2 episodes?
What cameos? What are you talking about? None of them have been cameos. They've all been integral parts of the story.
But I mean, they're still. I guess that's
a cameo is like what we got in Rogue One, right? With what's his name? Chopper going across the screen, right? That's a cameo. Right.
Makes sense.
Okay, enough of that.
Please like the video if you've made it this far. If you have watched this long, then at this point you might as well just like the video.
Just subscribe already. Jeez,
just subscribe already. All right, everybody. Well, until next time, we have spoken.
I'm still working on myself.
And we'll see you next time
on the Dads of
Dagobah. This is the way.